This is a new part of the podcast, the start to a new series. Every 5 weeks, my husband and my partner of 26 years will be joining me here for an honest conversation about the moments that brought us where we are in our marriage today. Since the dress and the tux, we've worn so many titles. From being pastors to renovating endless houses and entrepreneurs to traveling the world and to being brand new parents. And now, somehow, we are parents to grown kids. Well, 3 out of 4. It's crazy how time just flies by. Anyways, over the years, there have been so many quiet shifts and major turns, moments that didn't always feel like life-changing at the time, but definitely changed everything in the long run. And that's what we're here to talk about. The pivots, the patterns, the ridiculous, and the real. The messy, funny, and sometimes painful, but always honest stories that brought us here. Welcome to the Naked Podcast. This is us. Hey, before we get into this episode, I just want to say this one is really personal and completely new to us. In this conversation, we are going back to a time that almost broke our marriage. The dream house, the pink slips, the chaos, the silence, and the surprising little room that helped bring us back together. It's tender and honest and completely real. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Naked Podcast. This is us. Okay, today I'm joined by my husband, 26 years. And we're going to start a new series on the Naked Podcast. So the reason for the Naked Podcast was to hear stories, yes, but was to ask one solid question. Is there a time in your life when everything changed? And most of my guests will say it's hard to choose the moment when everything changed because there's so many moments when things pivoted in life. And so this got us talking about our life and our marriage and just reminiscing about the seasons we've gone through. And I'm like, gosh, there's so many seasons where everything has changed. And so it just led us to like, well, what if we were to pick a time in our lives, in our marriage, when things shifted and we wrote our perspectives of it and what we went through, what we were feeling, what we were going through, and then take some time to sit with you and read it for the first time. So today we've chosen a time in our marriage when everything really shifted and we're both writing and reading our perspectives and how we saw it. And then we're just going to kind of see where it goes from there. So you're at the beginning of a new series in the Naked Podcast. We'll be together once every 5 weeks, sharing the time when everything changed, or the times, shall I say. So thank you for being here. And thank you for joining me on this like new series and adventure of sharing things we've never really even talked about in this way before. With each other. So now we're sharing it publicly. So it's pretty exciting. And
absolutely my pleasure, especially when we get to the questions.
Yes. So I don't need to ask you the question when everything changed because we know where we're going today. Mm-hmm. And I guess I need to ask you if you want to read first or last.
First.
All right.
I don't want to be preceded by an author.
I got to ask you though first.
Yeah.
How did you feel when I first asked you, hey, what do you think about this idea? I mean, we kind of came up with it together, I feel like, but what was your initial feeling?
I liked the idea because we only see things from one perspective. And even when you have a chance to have like a conversation about it, often things get lost and shuffled. Like I went to the best of my memory, which I talk about in here a little bit. My memory is not the best as far as like dates and times and exact things. Spatially, it's fantastic, but so I went with the best of what I had. But if you ask anybody who's ever done investigations into like accidents and stuff like that, when they ask for eyewitness reports, they're notoriously unreliable. And like people standing right next to each other will have different accounts of what they saw because of just how the brain records it. And so hearing other points of view on moments that were very impactful to me is fantastic. Because then you actually get to broaden what you actually see happening in the moment. So, yeah.
Cool. Amazing. I just wanted to ask, what was your thought on that? But yeah, I'm excited. I don't know where this will take us, but I think it's cool when you can dive into parts of the journey that you really only have your perspective from, and we haven't taken time to ever really sit and think about these things or write about these things. So this is an interesting journey for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You want me to start?
Whenever you're ready.
All right. Our brains are funny things. how they are wired so differently, what they decide to hold on to, what they tuck away into the back rooms of our subconscious. Me, I have a spatial mind. Like if I've driven there before, even years ago, I can likely get you there again. I can see that in my mind when I'm in a space, an empty space or an old space, I can see where to add things or take things away, what it would look like to transform it. And then there are other things like time. For me, that may as well not exist, and possibly it doesn't. I can most likely tell you what year we are in right now, but beyond that, it's a bit of a guessing game or a glance at my phone. It's a bit of a math problem every time I get asked how old I am or how long we've been married. It's as if the fabric of space and time for me is space and space. So, this remembering moments when it all changed, I can access where, but when, it's a bit hazy. So, with that in mind, to the best of my recollection, we will talk about the retreat. At this point in our story, or the story of us, we'd been married around 7, 8 years, something like that. I was a youth pastor at the time, and we were in our sixth house in 8 years. The youth pastor gig was not highly lucrative. Mothering 3 kids paid even less. So we were always side hustling for extra cash. Flipping houses while living in them was one of the ways we made ends meet. Perhaps not the smartest way, but based on our skills available to us at the time, it was our way. We had amassed enough equity from flipping properties over and over again to find ourselves in our dream home. It was a 4-level split on a quiet cul-de-sac, pie-shaped lot with old mature elm and willow trees, huge deck, tiered backyard that was impossible to mow, a fire pit, a hot tub, a shed, a trampoline, everything you could want. It was a very understated house from the front, mostly garage and a front window. Opening the front door, you walk into a gigantic vaulted front room and dining room. 3 bedrooms up with an insanely large primary room. Glorious entertainment space, oak bookcases, 3/4 wainscoting, full window wall on the back deck, and a wet bar. A mudroom, a laundry room big enough to park 2 cars in, a fully developed space in the basement, crawl space large enough to store anything you could ever want, across the street from a playground, and a hockey rink where my rec team played every week. The perfect hosting house. Every Friday, we would fill it with kids from the youth group. Sometimes more than 80 would fill that space, playing board games and video games, and there was enough space for everyone. It was our dream house, our forever house. We had just finished stage 1 of renovating, so we were out of money, and being as this was our forever house, we needed to find new side hustles just to keep the lights on, and often we didn't. There's a limit to how many candlelit Little Caesar suppers you can have before they stop being romantic. I think it's one. We found ourselves borrowing money to pay reconnection fees. A boatload of teens blowing up our space every Friday, hockey clubs, hockey teams in our hot tub, video game stations all over the place, a fish tank full of dead or dying fish, 3 little ones clamoring for whatever little time we had left to give them, in, way over our heads. Mm-hmm. And us, exhausted, and we couldn't be further apart. Our lives were so full, so much action, so much life, parties, kids, church, mission trips, small side companies, and I could not have been more lonely. We were doing so much then, and when we had a little bit of energy to talk, we had nothing to say. It wasn't one thing preventing us from connecting, it was 100 things, and who the hell had space for that? I think we knew it was unsustainable, but we were determined to not admit that to each other. So, these 2 ghosts wandered around this incredible space, having nothing left for each other, being as they've given the best of themselves to everyone and everything else in our world. It was around that time I started to read. And by started, I mean for the first time ever. Being dyslexic, I was never reading. Reading was never something I could do, never mind wanted to. But something in me was changing. I had all these theological questions rising up in my heart and my head. I was becoming more and more uncomfortable with my belief system and my understanding of God. Like my heart was full of slivers and they were irritating the hell out of me. Pun intended. I had to deliver spiritual guidance and advice to crowds of people each week. So I was in a bit of an awkward space. So, to help me work through it all, I started reading. Since I had zero retention, my reading looked like me sitting in the front room in the late evening, holding a book in one hand and a highlighter in the other, following along to the audiobook that was playing off my computer. I did this one chapter at a time, 1 or 2 days a week. I would then go and pull apart all the things I highlighted and think through it. I didn't know, but this tiny routine created a small window of opportunity. I would sometimes find you sitting on the other couch, quietly listening to the book while it played. I think it was more about the opportunity to just sit together in a space without addressing the giant chasm between us. It was a bridge of sorts. Over time, you moved from the opposite couch, quietly listening, to sitting next to me, reading over my shoulder. We had moments where we talked about what we had just read, talking about what it meant to us, small moments of sharing something, a brief glimpse of hearts opening. Soon after that, you took the kids on a trip to go see cousins and grandparents in Manitoba. I wanted to do anything except drive 14 hours just to visit the nesting ground of the super swamp mosquito. So you crammed the kids in with your parents and went off to Manitoba. And I was free to do whatever I wanted. Now, being a 30-year-old boy, this meant pizza, movies, and video games as much as I wanted. You and the kids not being there meant I was free. And that was supposed to be the fun part. Freedom, no responsibility, me time. But after a couple days of immature fun, it had all kind of worn off. Turns out my me time was bullshit, an excuse to escape being a man. I found myself craving something deeper. So I cleaned up, sat down, and finished a chapter in my book. But something was missing. You were missing. You weren't there to sit and share it with. I didn't want to do this without you. Wait, I didn't want to do this without you. That was the pivot. That's when it all changed for me. I had tasted something better than pizza and I wanted more. I realized that our anniversary was just around the corner and I wanted to give you something to reflect this awakening that was within me. One thing on our hit list was cleaning out that packed garage. Between moving and renovating, it was full of leftovers, unwanted things, half finished, I'll get to it projects. And a clean space is perhaps the best gift I could ever give you. Well, second best, as we'll soon see. When this dream house of ours was built, there was a leftover space next to the mechanical room behind the furnaces. Yes, furnaces, plural. Part of the reason we could not afford this dream. This leftover space was around the size of a walk-in closet, a narrow rectangle. In the garage I was cleaning out was a bunch of renovation leftovers. Everything I needed to transform that little space into a child-free retreat space. Drywall, paint, carpet, lights, maple offcuts for shelving, 2 funky old chairs we had rescued from an old building along the way. Both of these vintage gold chairs had one arm designed that way so that you could put them together and make a love seat. So, over the next few days, through blood and sweat, I ended up cleaning out the garage and developing a secret hideaway retreat space. I can't remember if it was that day or 2 days later, you arrived home with the kids. A 14-hour straight shot from the swampland. We unloaded the car, gave the kids pizza. They told their stories until they couldn't stay awake any longer, and we tucked them in. Then you and I sat in our front room of this dream home. I'm happy you are home, waiting for the opportunity to transition into your anniversary gift. I can't sit on gifts. I have a compulsive need to give them immediately. Mm-hmm. So I wait. You just happy not to be in a moving car, and even happier to be in a home that is clean. You love those vacuum lines. You provide an opening. So, what did you do while we were gone? Obviously, you were curious, and the house is clean, but you're probably waiting to be disappointed from some hiding mess somewhere. Well, I actually have something for you. I take you to the garage, and I open the door, and it's clean. For the first time ever in that dream house, it's clean. Like, you can park a car in it clean. It's amazing. Followed up immediately by, what happened to all the stuff? It's downstairs. Now I see the hesitancy kick in. You think the mess has just shifted from one room to the other, and now it's in the basement. We go down, Basement is clean. I open the mechanical room, you look. Still no mess. No mess in the crawl space, not in the mechanical area, not in the basement. Where is it? Look, I said. You still don't see it. There behind the furnace is a curtain with a bow on it. You're a little confused, so you hesitantly go over and you open the curtain. There, behind it, is our new retreat space. Thin maple built-in covering one entire wall. In it, bottles of our favorite wines, top-lit puck lights illuminating their labels, candles, music, one small table with 2 copies of our next book and 2 highlighters on it. And on either side, those overly symbolic chairs. Nothing else. If you didn't bring it in here, you're not going to find it here. More importantly, it won't find you here. No kids, no mess. An escape from the outside pressures and expectations. A speakeasy in our own house. We used that space a lot. We didn't find answers to all our questions. We didn't find solutions to all our problems. But what we did find was each other. We found our usness, our muchness. It's your turn.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure where to start when I think back to 2007, a time in our lives when we were outnumbered 2 to 3. We had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a nearly 1-year-old. I'm pretty sure if you're looking from the outside in, you'd think we'd kind of arrived in some way. I mean, we were still in our 20s and we'd been married for almost 8 years. We'd bought 4 homes, 3 of which we completely gutted and renovated, and 2 others that we sold and built from the ground up. Now here we were. We'd finally gained enough equity from our other houses that we had a large enough down payment to upgrade to something bigger. I will never forget how huge it felt when we walked in the door for the first time. The entrance was grand with vaulted ceilings and wainscoting. It had 3 living rooms, a dining room table that could seat at least 10, plus a kitchen that also had seating for another 6. 4 bedrooms, a giant crawl space. Sure, parts of the house were a little outdated, but we already knew how to scrape popcorn ceilings, paint walls, install kitchens, rip out carpet, and lay flooring. All of this was within our wheelhouse. So we bought it, knowing the mortgage would definitely stretch us, thinning out our finances because we barely had enough to make ends meet. But we are hardworking, and we were committed to doing the extra work that it would take to live in this upscaled community. Living in a house that had character, a huge backyard with trees, a hot tub, and a laundry room as big as the master bedroom. This was a dream, and now we were calling it our home. I think I can actually recall Gregg saying, "I am never leaving, like not until I'm dead. Feet first only. This home is forever." It felt like all the years of packing and sorting and painting and scraping and moving had finally paid off. And now here we were, in our fast-paced lives, with 3 kids, 5 and under, working jobs and endlessly volunteering. Our house was bustling. Life didn't seem to have any pauses. If I wasn't at home cleaning, feeding, doing laundry, and keeping the kids alive, I was out hosting Norworks parties, trying to make some extra money so we could keep our lights on. And if I wasn't doing that, I was at the church, running a moms and tots group, practicing worship with the band, organizing volunteers, planning the next youth event, or the many other responsibilities that kept me running through those doors. And Gregg? Well, in some ways it felt like he was the church. Every time the doors opened, he was there, most often the one opening the doors. This was his 9 to 5, but it was also his Sunday morning, his Wednesday nights, and any other night that popped up into the church calendar. He was a master of planning sermons, an incredible speaker. He planned the best youth events, visited people in the hospital, went on mission trips to Africa, and every year he wrote and coordinated the church Christmas productions. He played ice hockey with guys from church, and while he was doing all of that, he was trying to continue doing the renovations in our dream home. And somehow, he still found room for a couple side jobs here and there. Every Friday, we also hosted youth events at our house, and most weekends that meant we had at least 50 kids walking in our front door. One of the many reasons why we were convinced that this house was our home. We finally had room to host the kids that we loved. Our lives felt like we were ping-ponging from one I have to another. The other day I was thinking about how it felt to wake in those walls, to cook meals in that slightly worn out kitchen that we had huge plans for. How the smell of steaming chlorine billowed out of the hot tub every time we went in. How the kids were so little, and most mornings I woke them standing beside the bed, looking to crawl in for a cuddle. How sitting around our big, huge table with our youth kids, laughing and playing games and eating cereal, how it all felt. There were so many highlighted moments, and then there was the gray, the ones few knew about. Greg and I were barely paying the bills, which meant we had pink slips taped to our front door, notices that our water or power would be cut off soon. This happened more than I want to admit. To say we were stressed is a large understatement. We rarely had sex, and our conversations were short, most hinging on our kids. In 8 years, the passion had dissipated, snuffed out. It's like it was gone, the love, the attraction, the care, just gone. We had become highly efficient roommates who stood on the front row every Sunday looking our best and our freshly pressed with our kids in tow. It was easy to barely rub shoulders when we had littles sitting between us. I didn't think most people noticed this, but one Sunday, a woman came up to me and she said, "You touched." She went on to tell me how she noticed that Greg touched my arm during the service. She said, "I've always wondered why you don't touch, but now I saw it. You touched." It totally rattled me. She noticed? Do more people notice this? Are we living in a fishbowl? We had become who we were, and I wasn't sure there was any way to change it. I remember a cooler day in fall, the time when most of the leaves are orange and yellow, but still very crisp. I walked in the house and looked like a bomb went off in it. It smelled like soggy, wet diapers and pizza. The clean laundry was spread all over the house. Now mixed with the dirty laundry, the sink was full of old food and cake dishes. We had just come to the end of a week where we ate every single meal in the car. And all I wanted to do was escape this mess. The truth is, I just wanted to forget this, collapse in my own bed. But I know that this will all be waiting for me in the morning, knowing well enough that cleaning with kids running around is possibly the worst thing ever. So I attempted to get into my unstoppable cleaning mode. But before I had even made a dent in the chaos, Greg showed up in the kitchen and said, "I have something to show you." In that moment, I gotta be honest, there was nothing else I wanted to do but get this house cleaned. But honestly, he just looked so excited. So we walked past the toys, the mixed piles of laundry, the half-empty sippy cups, the muddy shoes, the plastic, colorful IKEA dishes that the kids were using as stackable blocks, and many, many dried clumps of Play-Doh. And this was before we actually got to the real mess in the basement that was scattered all over the place. This is the part I don't know how to get into, the hardest part to write about. I felt like a single mom, wishing I could borrow just a bit of his time. I wanted him to see us. I remember praying that somehow he would notice this, the thing that had become us. I wanted a partner that would help me plan birthday parties for our kids instead of making excuses why he was late in arriving. I wanted him to choose us with a similar passion he had for every Sunday morning mission trips and hockey with the guys. Sure, we were friends, but in so many ways we were strangers. It's hard when you've given yourself to someone completely, allowing them to see you up close, viewing all the parts of you, once feeling closer to them than anyone else in the world. And then all of a sudden, it just slips away. In many moments, it felt like watching a slow motion picture, noticing the subtleties, the way she looks at him, and the way he looks back at her, the spark. And then the distant gray, the moment of letting go, the hopelessness, no dancing or swirling excitement in our bellies. This life we were living was more of survival, the busyness, the chaos, the church world. We'd learned how to tag team part of the time, and the rest of the time, we lived solo in our minds and our bodies. For me, we were a lost cause. Our kids were the only glue that kept us sleeping across from each other. And then there's the moment when something changed. The part in our story that could have caused us to end. Greg and I both refer to this as the retreat. Somehow he managed to scrape a few dollars and a ton of time to renovate our furnace room. A small room that was a bit like a junk drawer, Anything we didn't have space for or that needed to be sorted or was just leftover seasonal items, we dumped in this room. Out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. But he turned it into our very own space. No windows, no mess, no kids allowed. Just a humming furnace, 2 golden tweeded chairs, a piece of leftover carpet that just happened to fit perfectly, a featured wall built out of maple, a few floating shelves that held 2 glasses, a bottle of wine, and 2 books. At first, I wasn't sure what this was supposed to be. I mean, when would we have time to sit here and drink wine? And the books? I never read, and I definitely didn't plan to start. I can recall the feeling, sitting in the chairs that had clearly hosted many conversations before ours. This wasn't our first attempt at trying to connect. No, over the years, we'd sat in restaurants with nothing but silence sitting between us. The awkwardness of being with each other, the void of us was so uncomfortably present. But he knew that. That's why the 2 books were a part of this room. I'm not sure I remember the title, but I think it might have been Velvet Elvis, written by an author that Gregg really admired. I don't remember much about the book, but I can tell you that sitting in this space with nothing but a glass of wine in one hand and a book in the other was the greatest blend, the guide that led us into conversation. The more often we met here, the more we wanted to return. We would read through the pages and chat about each chapter and what provoked us. At first, it gave us something to talk about, but ever so slowly, stumbling, carefully we wove the broken bits of us, becoming reacquainted, leaving room for the uncomfortable. We showed up again and again and again and again. Eventually read the last page, realizing that we were coming back to a place that felt like home, back to each other. We were learning the new rhythms of us, how to do this dance of life in different ways than we had become so accustomed to. This space, the furnace, the chairs, the carpet, the wine, all becoming the oxygen we didn't know we needed. The moments that saved us. It did. It taught us that the secret isn't going away on some fancy trip to a place with sandy beaches and sunny skies. It's not the magic of a trip that'll make us better. No, the usness of us isn't found somewhere out there. It's right here. The truth is, we will need to continually be looking for each other, finding cracks where we can slip into each other's world, to rise early, to sip tea, even when our nights are short, to take a walk, even if it's just for half an hour, to hold each other and look in each other's eyes, even if it's just for a few minutes or seconds. There are micro moments in every single day where we can find each other. It's up to us to make space, creating room wherever we are for the retreat to still exist. So many words. I think that the moment, something that really stuck with me that you read was when you were sitting alone on the couch and I was away in your mind. I don't know what's true, actually, what version of this, but like you said, 2 people in the room seeing 2 different perspectives.
It was very, very cluttered time.
It was. There was a lot going on.
As you're reading, I'm trying to roll back and like, when did that all happen? Because in my brain, you went away and that's when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be getting several stories mixed together, but whatever.
The essence of what happened is what changed everything.
Yeah.
When and where, it doesn't really matter. But if I was leaving on a trip or I was walking into Soggy Diggers, I don't know. But the moment was like just sitting in that space. But what really stuck with me, which is interesting, is when you're saying we're away and you're on the couch reading and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to do this alone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do this out her. And what's so interesting about that, what really got me is in my version of this is like, we were alone, so alone. Like you said, there are so many things happening, church and people and all this stuff, youth groups and stuff, but we were like so alone in our own home.
Normally, I would have been fine with that. Like, not fine with the way our home was,
Mm-hmm.
but like, alone is fine for me. Like, I don't mind being alone. especially when it comes to like learning or reading or things like that, I prefer to go at my own pace. Just from like experiences of being a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like my grade 1, I went to an ACE school. You know,
Me too.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have to put up the flag to go to
Yeah.
the bathroom, or put up
Yeah.
the flag for help. There's like one teacher
Mm-hmm.
for like 600 kids or whatever. Like, and I remember like a teacher would sit over my shoulder and look over at my work and tell me what was wrong and tell me like I need to do it again and to erase it and all that kind of stuff. So like I always had this thing with like being alone when it comes to like reading or learning or anything like that. It was always, I don't like, still to this day, I don't like someone looking over my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So to have you right next to me in that time, it didn't bother me because it was the only time we were like close to each other outside of our bed.
Mm-hmm.
Partly out of busyness, partly out of just the divide that was
Yeah.
between us. I think it was mostly just a lack of energy and intent. But the thing that you touch on is like the micro moments
Mm-hmm.
and finding those cracks where the light can come in and finding that space where it's like, it's not necessarily about the quantity of time.
Yeah.
It's that quality of focus time.
Mm-hmm.
It's that time where there isn't a phone involved. A time where you can connect with each other or the kid or the kids together,
Mm-hmm.
where you're completely in that space
Mm-hmm.
and not anywhere else,
Mm-hmm.
and not thinking about anything else in the background, but like in that moment. And if that's only 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what'll stick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't remember, like if you think back to memories, you don't think about the entire span. You think
Mm-hmm.
about moments.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that can help shape and move and form.
Yeah.
So I love the micro moment aspect.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of this like picture I get of like searching for the magic outside of our home. I don't know if you remember the time that we went on. Was working really hard and I had
I
saved up
remember.
enough money, and we went to the Bahamas, I believe.
We did.
And I remember being on the boat and just feeling so far from you, and getting up the next morning and looking over at the ocean. And I remember saying to you, you know what? Everywhere you go, there you are. And it sounded so profound to me, and I think you kind of still giggle about it, but it still is a profound thing. It's like you think that like going somewhere is going to change it, and like this idea of going on a holiday and like all this connection and it's just going to change you, and then you come home and then you lose it. It's like, no, like you go on the trip and it still is empty because there still is nothing.
Right.
There isn't the connection. Like the truth is, like the retreat's in your basement, Disneyland's in your backyard with your kids on the trampoline.
Yeah.
Like it's not about going. These trips are great, but if that's all you have and there's no in between, you're just starving.
I think you have to define success differently.
Yeah.
Success as a parent, success as a couple. And again, it's not, oh, I took my kids to Disneyland for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's great if you can do that. And that's, there's nothing wrong with that.
It.
But often that's viewed as success. And that's what a good parent does, right? Took them to hockey for 9 years or whatever the thing is that searching for success. Success is the investment of yourself and the connection with the other person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
At least that's how I define it. And other people are going to define it differently, and that's totally fine. But for me, it's about authenticity. It's about the ability to continually have a relationship where your kids call you out on your shit.
Mm-hmm.
When you do something stupid, you say something idiotic, and they call you out on it. Like, yeah, that hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a chance to actually repair that and work through that. But that came from years and years and years of investing that time.
Yeah.
And that vulnerability and that, having that relationship in place.
Mm-hmm. It's from the micro moments.
It is.
Right? Because, it's not about the big grand gestures, the big outings. I mean, in those years, we barely kept the lights on.
We didn't.
We didn't. And a lot of the kids' clothes were like hand-me-downs, and like we had a lot of people helping us in different ways to keep food on the table and these things, And so, yeah, it wasn't easy to even go to the park. I mean, we lived across the street from parks and we never went because we're just so busy doing so many things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's in the tuck-ins, it's in the reading your kids, it's in the tea in the morning, like I said, or the walk for half an hour because that's all you have. You know, I think that season really, like, I like to like think about in relationship when you go through hard things, it's like a tree, and as you go through it, it's like there's a root, like the root goes a little bit deeper, like the tree just expands and it creates a stronger base,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I think that's what that did for us, like 8 years in. That was still really new into our marriage. When you think about it, that's like 18 years ago for us. And it created this base, a stronger base that we needed because we did not know it was coming. Um, you know, so many other things that we've gone through, and that just created this stronger structure on the base of our relationship that it was a good thing to remember to go back to, even though there's been seasons where we maybe haven't had, obviously, a retreat like that. But knowing that it's in those small.
Well, we built it in the next house.
We did.
As we travel, we try to look for spaces that we can carve out for our retreat, even if it's out on a patio.
Yeah.
Little nooks and
crannies
things to find, but it is not even the space. It's the intentionality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the time.
Yeah.
It's such as the time. Yeah. Those are really hard thing to go through, but I'm really grateful that it led us there to the furnace. You know, it's so funny.
Through the furnace.
Through the furnace. I keep thinking it was just right beside us, but yeah. And that was like so many. It was like the stitch, like, you know, it was one of the biggest points that I look back to in the early years of marriage, how we found each other again.
Yeah. I think as I look back, like selling that house, because of like, just can't afford this monster.
Yeah.
Like the roof was going to go, the furnaces were going to go, and then we couldn't keep lights on, let alone maintain or fix up any further that place. And the thought of losing that was like devastating for so long. And then ending up selling it and moving out to the booming metropolis and the epicenter of progressive culture that is Airdrie was like gutting. But then I'm seeing now it like prepared at least me to understand that like this is home. The connection of our people, that's home. Not any building, not any structure. We've stayed in castles, we've stayed in 1-bedroom apartments above bars,
with 5 of us in it.
Yeah. It looked like it was a 2-bedroom online.
Yeah. It's a 1-bedroom. Cuddle up.
Like we've stayed everywhere. And it's us that we keep returning to. In fact, those spaces often force us to return to one another. And that's home.
Yeah.
Homes are people. So in a way, that house prepared me for that. You know, I remember almost being embarrassed of it multiple times. Not, I was embarrassed when the power got cut off.
Yeah.
And, you know, things like that, of course. But I remember we were hosting the Watoto children's choir, and like all these kids were staying in our basement, and they're like, "Oh, you have so many TVs." I mean, we were doing video games with LAN connection with, you know, with all the youth group and everything. So we had donated TVs and stuff, and game systems, and they were just amazed that we had so much stuff.
Yeah.
And then I just remember thinking while they're telling me, like, his place is so beautiful. You have so much stuff. There's so much space. We could all stay here. I'm like, yeah, you could all stay here. And it's not even mine. It belongs to the bank. And very soon they're going to take it away from me. Like, and I think that's for me when I detached. When I realized, oh, this isn't even mine. I'm calling it mine. And on a piece of paper it is. But that can just disappear.
Yeah.
That can be gone.
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah.
Like, then you have to redefine yourself again. We have to redefine the family again, But if home is the people, it doesn't matter.
It's true. I think sometimes that there is this idea that when you have the things, it makes you feel better. It makes you feel like
you made it.
You made it.
Successful.
Yeah.
But worth it.
Yeah. The hard work is all worth it, even if it takes you away from the people that live inside the home. You don't see the people. Like, we didn't see each other. You barely saw the kids.
Mm-hmm.
In those years, it's just like, if that was our continual life, like, things would look very different. I remember saying to you one time, like, I will live in a shoebox with you if it means that we get to be close. Like, just knowing and feeling that. I think after feeling that, like, that connection of, like, it's different than when you're dating, because there's so many more layers to who you are and what's created you and these little humans. But it's like that richness, like that excitement, I guess, or that muchness that is there. Then you're like, oh, this exists still. Like, it exists even through kids. Like, we can still have this passion for each other. And I think realizing that and, like, moving to a different place in area that wasn't our dream home, but when we sold that house, gosh, the connections we felt in that place, because we had created such a different, like, environment. We weren't hosting 50 kids every weekend, but we were hosting our family. We like made dinners for the first time and sat around a table for the first time. Like, it was the connections, the seeing each other, you seeing the kids, and I think that it really set the stage, or set the awareness of what it takes to be us. We'll take it to the end of our life together.
We keep finding each other.
Yeah.
We wander and then we find.
Mm-hmm.
It's hide and seek a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you're growing, you're going to be changing. And if you're changing, there's new things to discover, and there's a little bit of wandering that happens with growth.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to find new aspects in that person. I think that's a little bit of, like, the constant dating is like the quest to understand and learn and know more about the other person. And as they grow and change, and there's new things to uncover, new things to find and see, new ways to connect, and new things to be annoyed by.
Yeah.
That's part of the magic.
The constant learning, the constant discovery. And, like, there's been so many discoveries since that time too. Like, it's one of the many moments when things changed for us. But it's pretty special, and I think it'll always be etched, like, strongly in our minds and our hearts. And even though we don't have a picture of it, we could both probably draw a picture of it, or
I can draw you a picture of it. Yeah, I can see it, like, clearly.
Yeah, our space.
Can't tell you what year it was, or what month it was, or what else was going on, but I can tell you that space.
Yeah.
I think it was the first time we ever had to reach. Had to really reach for one another.
It's the only time we chose in that chaotic time.
Yeah.
To reach.
Yeah.
And it was with a lot of uncertainty from my side at the beginning, being like, I don't have time for this. Like, if I have extra time, it's going to be spent sleeping so I can have time to go tomorrow and do the next thing, the energy for tomorrow. But like I said, the more time we spent there, the more time I, like, craved to be in that space, to, like, to get to know you again. It's like, I kind of forgot who you were, and you had formed into a new person. I didn't know that person. It's like a re-understanding, like, become acquainted with somebody I hadn't really known for a while. Yeah. It was wild.
First of many.
Yeah, I don't even know how to end this. It's like, I guess we're just finding our way through it. I guess there's anybody who's listening who's maybe somewhere in between the beginning of your life together, or somewhere way long in many years that you've been together and you feel lost, I mean, maybe try to find some micro moments. I don't know. Anyways, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here and for sharing this, and for it's really interesting to hear what you saw and to feel. Like I really feel like I could feel what you felt in that moment, in that line.
I think this one was an easy one because it wasn't wrapped around some of the other things our other moments are wrapped around.
Yeah.
And so it's an easier thing to talk about. So I'm glad we started here.
Yeah. Plus, we've revisited this many times over the years.
Yeah.
We've talked about this many times. Being like, remember the tufted tweed couch? You know? So, yeah. But well, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Until next time, when we do this we do this again.
Don't we have questions?
Yes, there are questions. So those of you who want to hear the questions, the after chats, Greg and I will be asking each other a few questions that we don't know what they are. I'm a little like, okay, I don't really get asked questions on the podcast. So I'm like, but this time and every time that him and I are together, we're going to have a little after chat where we go a little deeper, where we ask each other a couple questions. That's part of the Patreon. So after this, go check out the Patreon. Check it out. There's a lot of conversations on there with all of my guests. And so it just gives you a little bit of more of the muchness, the things that sometimes get cut off. You like hit the end button and you're like, damn, there were so many good things that we said after we, stopped recording. So head over to the Patreon for a little bit more goodness. So
I'm going to grill you.
You're going to grill me? You're going to want to come hang out with us in the Patreon. So that's that. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us, and for being part of the Naked community. It really, really means a lot. And I'm just so glad that you're here. So thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to listen to the Naked podcast. It honestly means so much. If there's something in the episode that has moved you, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. And if you haven't already, give us a follow and leave a review. It helps so much to keep the momentum and keep the show growing. For more conversations, reflections, and ways to stay connected, check out the link in the show notes. Until next time. If you would like to connect with us or possibly share your story, please contact us at nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. That's nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. Thanks so much.